And let's get this party started, man. All right. Hello, everyone. And thank you for joining this month's Real Estate Roundtable, all the top newsmakers for April 2016. I'm your host, Jayson Bates, and I host a podcast called Valley of the Sun Real Estate Show. And I just got an error here on my computer, but that's live, and I'm just exited that out. So we'll keep going here. That's a thing with live, right? You never know what's going to restart or reboot here. So if you want to visit I'm sorry, Robert. If you want to visit my website, please do so. I'd encourage you to do so. You can check me out on www.valleyofthesun.realestateteshow. From there, connect with me on any social media platform. Love to have you as a connection. So as we did last month, Robert E. Lewis is with me this month, co-hosting this blab. And by the way, if you're listening to this podcast and you're not familiar with live streaming or the power of live streaming, or if you'd like to see it rather than just hear it, join us on Blab. Blab's a really cool platform where we can actually interact with one another and really have good quality conversations. So I'd encourage you to join me at Blab, blab.im for that. How you doing, Robert?
I'm awesome, Jayson. Awesome. And then I said Jayson. So it's been a long day, but I'm great. Glad to be here, man. Excited about the show.
Awesome. And Robert, he's a lender in Texas. So if you're looking for a loan in Texas, please reach out to Robert. Tell everybody real quick how people can get a hold of you, Robert.
I give my website, www.lend2tx.com. Best way to get to me, and then reach out to.
Oh, I think we just lost Robert there. This lab is having its issues. This is part of live streaming. Robert, hopefully you're still there, buddy. And I'm going to pick up some of the silence here for us. Why don't you refresh there, Robert? While you're doing that, I'll kind of put in kind of my game plan here. We're going to play a little bit of a game here with real estate. It's called Real Estate, and it was done by Meredith Vieira. She has a daily talk show, and she did a segment on real estate. And so we're going to play this little game, and I might be playing by myself here as Robert kind of lost his internet connection or something like that. So we'll see what happens here with that. But I'm gonna go ahead and load this up here. Okay, you with us, Robert?
I'm with you, man. I technical difficulties. We're live, but I'm ready for the game. Let's get it.
All right. So I'm feedback. So I don't know if you got another window open or something like that, but I'm getting some feedback there, buddy.
How's that? We're good.
Yeah, we're good. I hear you good. All right, cool. So let's do this here. Now, again, this is, and I just hit my expansion here. So hopefully this is a big screen up above us. Again, if you're not listening to us or watching this on Blab, I encourage you to do that. Check out, there's a lot of good quality content on Blab, a lot more interactive. But for the podcast, what we're doing is we're watching a video here and we're going to say it's by Meredith Vieira here, and it's faking news is the title of it, and it's a real estate edition. So we're gonna play a little segment here. I've got it kind of mapped out, so hopefully bear with me. Hopefully it's not too clunky here. So let's play. This is the first thing. You got to guess whether or not this is fake or real. Okay? So let's play this here.
London woman is on the hunt for a new housemate with one stipulation.
Uh-oh. Maybe it's not going to work.
She says you must cuddle her cats. 52-year-old Alina Valdemare has 6 cats between the ages of 13 and 16. She wants them snuggled when she's not home. Interested animal lovers had better move quickly because she already has lots of interest for what you might call an imperfect situation.
Okay, so hopefully you heard that. Did you hear the gist of that one?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So a lady in London, she's looking for a roommate, but the requirement here for the roommate is that you have to cuddle her cats. Yeah, so you have to be an animal lover here. So is that fake or is that real? I know the answer to this, so I can't really play. So you and in the chat, if you want to put in the chat, you tell me, Eileen, if you want to, and Robert, your volume is a little bit low, buddy. So if you can pump that up a little bit.
Gotcha. I say it's real.
It's real. Okay, so let's see here. It is real. It is real. Good guess, man. Nice guess. Good job. Have you seen this?
No, I haven't.
Seen? All right. Okay, so let's go on to the next one here. This is a little new for me, so bear with me on this. Here's the next segment.
A Seattle activist tried stopping the demolition of a 107-year-old warehouse in an unusual way by marrying that warehouse. She said she was head over heels in love with the building's community space. She wanted to show how much she loves it. The marriage did not last. The city demolished the building anyway. There was no immediate word on whether she's moved on to seeing other properties.
So which is it, fake or real?
I'm going to say that one's real too. Yeah.
Real. Okay, so real. You're going with real. It is real, dude. Nice guess. Nice guess. It is real. Okay, so next one here. I got to get my pointer here, get to the right spot. And let's go.
An Oklahoma man is suing his neighbors over their home renovations. He says they're installing floor-to-ceiling windows that face his living room. The problem, apparently the neighbors are known for throwing naked dance parties. They leave nothing to the imagination. The neighbors say the homeowner is just jealous of their moves and should consider installing blackout shades if he doesn't want to see their blowouts in the buff.
Wow.
All right. So is that fake or real? Now, again, these are ads that are out there, supposedly real ads. And we're trying to guess if they're fake or real. What do you think? You're muted, buddy.
I'm going to say that one's real too. Real.
Okay.
Real. Yeah.
I'm getting feedback on you too, man. So hang on.
We got it.
That one actually, hang on. It is actually fake. That one is fake. And they had a little bit of an argument on this one because I guess in New York City, that's kind of commonplace. The buildings are so close together and you got windows next to windows and people are always walking around naked. So it's one of those things.
Okay.
So next one here. Fake or real?
A Japanese man loves his Porsche so much that he has designed a glass garage. He's built his entire house around the car. It's a $500,000 home with views of the car from every room, including the bathroom. The owner says he eats breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day while gazing at the car from his kitchen table. We're not sure on this how much it drives his wife crazy or why she hasn't asked him to pump the brakes on this crazy plan.
Fake or real? Yeah. Some guy built his house around his car. That's a little crazy to me.
I think it's real because he got the money to do it. So I think that's real.
That's okay. So we'll see here. Let's get to the marker here. And you are correct. It is real. They actually show a video here. I'll play it here. They'll show a video of the actual car here.
And I want to show you the video on this one because it is real.
It's kind of crazy.
Here's what it looks like. The car's right in the middle, and everywhere you go in the house, there's the car.
Oh my God!
He's actually talking about buying another car and building another house just like this.
Wow. There's nothing else in the house.
Is that crazy or what?
It's so sterile.
Seriously, exactly. I know.
Wow.
Okay, so last one here. This is the last one, and hopefully this is a little bit of fun here for us, or you, entertaining us here.
The story now of a New Hampshire man who has successfully built an entire house out of Skittles. The confectionery creation has 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a 1-car garage. He says it took 7 years and $250,000, but now he's over the rainbow about how it turned out.
Fake or real? A house out of Skittles.
I'm going to say that was real too, man. I think that's real as well.
You think that's real, huh?
Yeah, it's got to be real.
Fake. That one was fake.
I'm glad I was
What'd
wrong.
you get? You got like 3 out of 5, man. That's not bad, man.
Not bad. I'm above average.
Yeah, home sweet home. I love that, Eileen. That's perfect. All right, cool. So again, just doing this drop thing here. For those listening on the podcast, this is why you should be watching Blab, right? This is why you should be watching Blab.
Exactly.
All right, cool. So let's get on with today's headlines, or this month's headlines here for us. So first one here, I wanted to kind of, and this is kind of in your backyard here a little bit, Robert, in that a Japanese firm actually bought an established North Texas builder. They didn't name they did name the builder. The builder's name. Let's see. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have subdivisions here in Phoenix, San Antonio, I think a couple other places as well.
Yeah. Austin. Yeah.
Why I thought this was kind of newsworthy here a little bit. Seems to be a lot of overseas investments into U.S. companies. We talk about the economy, the worldwide economy. It seems as though a lot of out-of-country companies are looking to invest in U.S. companies. Now, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing?
I'm kind of on the fence on that one, man, because when you go around the world, we can't purchase real estate and things of that nature in some of these countries. So they play it off as it's like it's a good thing. But when I was reading the article, I was kind of like, that's kind of squirrely, So I'm kind of on the fence on that one.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't know that having so much foreign money into U.S. companies that are supplying housing for U.S. citizens, I don't know. Is it good that I'm kind of like, well, I wish that was kind of a little bit of American made. Isn't that kind of what we were founded on, was owning your own plot of land, and the Oklahoma Sooner going out there and getting your plot and your land and doing your thing. And now we've got a foreign company kind of.
And that's on the residential side, because, I know of this, but, in some of these major cities, a lot of the, big hotels and things of that nature on the commercial end are also being purchased by foreign interests as well. So I'm like, man, those are the kind of things that are kind of under the radar. So, to be continued. We'll see on that one, but interesting.
Yeah. And
interesting.
To be fair, they already owned a big portion of that company to begin with. They just exercised their right to purchase the remaining portion of that company. So, and maybe nothing will change. Maybe they'll say, hey, you guys know what you're doing. We're just there to supply capital for you. Right. That might be all that it is. Now this one, this next article here was, I'm getting tired of seeing these, to be honest with you, these articles are starting to piss me off. And I don't want to be get too emotional in this. Right. But
calm down,
it says here, yeah, right. I'm not Howard Stern. I'm not going to punch Adam Carolla. I'm not going to go on a rant.
Right.
It says, not again, replay of housing crisis looming. I'm kind of sick and tired of hearing all this negative stuff about the housing market. I don't think that we're not where we were back in 2008 as far as the house values go. Number one,
right.
We're not there where we were as far as a loosey-goosey underwriting portfolio that's out there. We've got a lot of people who are bashing the current president because he's pushing for more lenient lending practices. And so you see these columnists and these journalists writing these articles, trying to be the first on the block to say, I told you so about the economy or about the housing market and a crash. I mean, I still talk to people in my neighborhood who think there's going to be another big crash. Yeah, I could say that too. There's going to be another crash. There is going to be another crash in the United States economy. I may not be alive when it happens, but there will be another crash.
Right.
It's like a broad statement. There doesn't seem to be any kind of substance behind it.
Well, and it's clickbait from my standpoint, because as you well know, I mean, here in Texas and in my locale, they're building left and right. Inventory is really a problem, right? And so you really have to take it with a grain of salt what you're reading, because a lot of these times, these folks, these columnists, unfortunately are trying to get readership or whatever. And nothing sells like, doom and gloom.
Yeah, no, exactly. That seems to be kind of the media's thing. They want to, it's not newsworthy unless it's negative news. Right. So And the article it points out, President Obama says the Obama administration is engaged in broad push to make more home loans available to people with weaker credit in an effort to that officials say will help power the economic recovery that skeptics say could open the door to risky lending that caused the housing crash in the first place. I don't. Here, I know you're a lender. I'm a lender. I think there's a place for these loans that, everybody said that they were too risky and things like that. Mm-hmm. I do think that there's a place for those types of loans. Not to the degree that they were before, of course. Got it. And there needs to be some regulation on those. You just can't give it to a McDonald's worker. No offense to people working at fast food, right. But you can't give it to somebody who's obviously not making enough to afford the home that they're applying for. Got it. But for the people who are self-employed, I just think it's a little bit unfair for individuals that we're judging them on how they're going to pay in the future by what they did 2 years ago. A lot of these people will adjust their incomes and can legally through their tax returns. They obviously make enough in gross receipts and things like that. But through the law, they can write off certain things, just like as a realtor can. They can write off because they're 1099 or whatever. Right. And so their actual income is not necessarily reflected on the IRS tax returns. And so the affordability question comes into play there. And so I just think it's a little bit unfair. So I do think there's a place for those types of bank statement or stated income loans, as long as they're underwritten with a certain level of maturity, I guess. Common
sense. I mean, you, like you said, you have to be able to, from an underwriting standpoint, know when someone is taking a tax break or advantage, opposed to somebody that's not making the money, right? That can't get into a home. So some of these core price indexes and some of these stock market numbers that we're seeing as a direct result, you need to let these people off the sidelines so they can start buying appliances and some of the stuff that moves the economy, right? So, yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So now with that article, right, there's the doom and gloom article. And so then the next article says foreclosure filings fall to lowest level in 9 years, according to Realty. So how are we in such a bad place? Now, I think they're trying to accurately predict what may happen 2 or 3 years from now with that doom and gloom thing. As I said, they want to be the first on the block to say, I told you so. But I just don't see it, man. I don't know. I know here in Arizona, there was a lot of talk of shadow inventory of all these properties that the banks are holding on to. Mm-hmm. Didn't happen.
And it hasn't happened. I don't see it either. I mean, there's no inventory. They can't build them fast enough. I mean, and it's perfect indicator. That's why these house prices, I noticed somebody here in the chat saying that his house went up 40 grand over the last 3 years. And I think we got another good 24 months of that minimum, of appreciation. So we need those types of programs that you mentioned earlier, because a lot of folks are starting to get priced out of the market with these house prices going up. So you got to have a balance there. And no disrespect to anybody, like you always say, Jayson, but those folks that are coming in that might have lower credit scores and things of that nature, those are the folks that spend money, man. They spend the money.
Here's the thing on the lower credit scores. If you give a person, because again, this is all in our core values as a country, in my personal opinion. Mm-hmm. When you give an opportunity to somebody who didn't think they had that opportunity, I think they cherish that a little bit more than the person who thinks they deserve the house. You know what I mean? Like somebody who just takes it for granted. My what doesn't stink kind of attitude, versus a person saying, I'll do anything. I'll work 2 jobs to make that house payment. I'll do whatever I need to do to make that house payment. I think there's some substance there, some traction with lending on somebody who really has a desire to be a homeowner versus somebody who doesn't. The entitlement rule kind of thing. I think.
That's a great point, man. That's a great point, man. Because you see, and I'm sorry.
Attitude toward home ownership is a lot about the repayment efforts. Somebody who's a single mom working 2 or 3 jobs, and doing what she needs to do to make a living for her and her children, she's going to appreciate that roof over her head a lot more than somebody who complains about going to work every single day.
And now the correction in the underwritings and guidelines and commissions. I saw someone on the sideline saying, now commissions aren't in line with the different types of loan products you have. So now you have a better balance to where that single mom can get into a home. She's not being taken advantage of because there's not any incentive. Not that you and I used to do those type of things, but there were people in this business that did. And so they're buying the homes the right way. And it's a good thing. That's why foreclosure rates are down.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've got something on the commissions too. So stick around for that. I do have something on the commissions for that. Stronger economy helps boost home purchase applications. I don't know. I don't know if I 100% agree with this. I don't know if it's stronger economy or just people are coming out of the penalty box phase that were once homeowners, that are saying, hey, I understand the value of home ownership and I want to get back in the game. I need the tax write-off. I need, all the other things, the benefits that come along with home ownership.
And the underwriting guidelines are starting to loosen up, right? So now, like you said, they can get back in the game. So I agree with you. I think it's more of that opposed to a stronger economy. Yeah,
because economy, I mean, I don't feel that it's where it needs to be. Is it better than what it was in 2009, 2010? Of course. I mean, how could it not be any better, really? But it's not nearly where I think it needs to be, where people are 100% confident. Now, I do take myself back to 2009, 2010, where I had many people in the middle of their application for a home loan lose their job right in the middle of the loan application. And then you had to cancel and you couldn't get the loan, right? So we're much better than that. But I just don't know that people are 100%. They are more confident that they're not going to lose their job. They have a job. They're not as confident about getting another job in a short period of time. The demand for employees isn't quite there yet where you can job hop and not miss a beat. If you quit your job, you may be looking for a job for several months.
Exactly.
And so that's where I think the economy is not quite where it needs to be. It's better, definitely much better, but not quite where it needs to be.
Well, if you talk about jobless claims, I think you might talk about that here too. That bears out what you're saying. I mean, just recently, they had to revise and they were a lot higher than they wanted to see them. So spot on what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay. So now I want to get into, I mentioned before, and I do this every month. We see every single month fines, CFPB. Wow. This is the rule of enforcement. Okay. Last year was the year of the shot over the bow, the warning shots to these companies about lending practices. But the CFPB this year is really putting the hammer down. To give an example, Wells Fargo just recently paid $1.2 billion dollars to the CFPB. Yeah, right. So this is serious stuff here, man. This isn't chump change. This is serious stuff. Now, and I got on this article here. This all stems from 2008 to 2010. And the FHA guidelines, and this was a fair lending issue for Wells Fargo. If you know the history of this whole lawsuit against Wells Fargo was doing a lot of broker business back then, where brokers would sell the loans to Wells Fargo, and these wasn't the Fair Housing Administration, but they did an audit of the files coming from the brokers, and they found a disproportionate amount of loans that were charged more money for minorities, blacks, mainly though. I think it was for Oriental or not Oriental, but
Hispanic.
Asian population. They were actually charged more.
Really?
Than yes.
Okay.
And I know this because at the time I was working for a company and they audited our books. We passed, but they told us what they were looking for.
Okay.
And I don't know if this was in California where there's a bigger, a more Asian population there or higher population of Asians there or not. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But they were looking specifically at minorities being charged more in points and discount fees than the rest of the portfolio. Now, in all fairness to Wells Fargo, they said, well, wait a minute here. We didn't originate those loans. We bought those loans from the brokers. That's our broker channel. That has nothing to do with Wells Fargo. And they came back and said, well, it doesn't matter. You're servicing the loans right now. You shouldn't have bought them.
Right.
And so Wells Fargo, and this is how long these things take, right? It's now 2016, and they're being fined $1.2 billion for what happened back in 2008, 2009. I think it's actually 2009, 2010 that this happened.
It's from 2000 to 2010, I believe, that time frame that they were trying to negotiate.
Remember, they pulled out their whole broker channel
Right.
from doing brokered loans and just said, hey, we're going to originate that in-house. We're going to do it with their broker channel.
Kind of like what Chase is talking about now, right?
Yeah, we're going to get to Chase because Jamie Dimon makes some very interesting points on that. Goldman Sachs, $5 billion.
$5
billion. Goldman Sachs. Now, these companies have had years to prepare for this. They knew this was coming. This isn't a shock.
And I have a question because those two companies I know, and I can't give an exact dollar amount, but did they not receive bailout money as well when all the stuff was going down? As far as I know, Goldman Sachs did.
Yeah, all these banks did. Yeah, absolutely. And well, I don't know if did Chase. I don't know if Chase did.
Well, I know Chase. They put a deal together where Chase took in a lot of these loans from other banks that they were shutting down. But so I don't know what kind of deal they got on the back end. But I was just curious with all these fines. Don't trust these big conglomerates, man, because they're getting a bailout on this end. Had all this time to make money.
Right.
Now they're so-called paying it back. But still, big money.
Well, and we'll get into some of the money because some of these servicing giants here say they're not really making a lot of money. I don't know. I don't see them. I don't know if that's a George Bush fuzzy math kind of thing. I don't know what's going on there, but
right.
I don't know why you're into it. But let's kind of talk. And Freedom Mortgage, same thing. They paid a lot of money. I think Alfredo here put $12 billion in Wells Fargo Bank. I'm not sure. I didn't see that article. I don't know if that happened in April, if that just recently happened there, Alfredo. But the article I had here was 1.2 billion, not 12 billion.
Yeah, it's 1.2. It's not 12, Alfredo. 1.2 billion. Yeah.
Now maybe there's another lawsuit for something. I don't know, but this is related to the FHA lending portion.
Yeah, he's correcting himself in the chat. It's 1.2.
And then Freedom Mortgage paying 113 million. That's significant for Freedom Mortgage. That's pretty significant there. Again, from practices back in 2006 to 2008 on them. So these things take time to develop. And what was going on then, the loosey-goosey thing, they're really paying for it now, a lot of these companies.
Quicken is the only one that's putting up a fight, right? Everybody else is just kind of laying down and paying up.
Right.
Yeah.
They are putting up a fight, and, good for them. I mean, and there's been some kickback with the CFPB. Like, who's regulating CFPB? The president's supposed to be able to have some kind of authority over it, but his hands are tied, from what I understand.
Yeah, Cordray, anything. Yeah. He's
always regulating the regulator, and there's some inconsistencies within CFPB that a lot of lenders are having problems with. And so Quicken Loans is saying, hey, wait a minute here. This isn't fair.
I know myself in my small practice, not to cut you off, but I just 5 loans that they're trying to get me to buy back from 2015 over small, not material mistakes. I mean, crazy stuff,
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like they wait for some time to pass, hoping that you can't, come up with the information and write me a check. So it's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. It is, and that's to that point. Jamie Dimon has recently said in his I don't want to say memoirs, but in his letter to stockholders and shareholders that that mortgages are bad for business. He's basically saying, "Hey, mortgages are no bueno, not good for our business." Now, and I'll quote here. It says here, the mortgage business can be volatile and has experienced increasingly lower returns as new regulations add both sizable costs and higher capital requirements. Now, I know the capital requirements. I know that to be
that's true.
That is true. That's a big deal. I mean, when you have $10 million in servicing portfolio, you are opening yourself up to a whole different level of scrutiny. So a lot of companies want to stay below that $10 billion because you have to raise more capital in order to be able to service that portfolio. And so a lot of companies don't want to go there with it.
Right.
So as you get higher, it's kind of the more you make or the more you have in assets in that mortgage-backed securities, then the more scrutiny and more required of you that you're going to have to do. And at some point, it just doesn't make cost-effective sense.
I'm interested to see how, Chase is going to handle that with, Community Reinvestment Act and things of that nature on the other side, because, they're talking about FHA mortgages, in code. Nobody wants to do them,
I know. It's crazy, man. And that's what he said here. We will dramatically reduce FHA originations. Currently, it is simply too costly and too risky to originate these kinds of mortgages. Part of the risk comes from the penalties that the government charges if you make a mistake. And part of the risk is because these types of mortgages default frequently. And I think part of it, too, he didn't really say in his memo here, but I have heard that the government is always changing the rules, too. It's a kind of a moving target for banks. There's no, you tell me to do this, and then now you're hitting me for this on an audit. What gives here?
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Now it says here, in the new world, the cost of default servicing is extraordinarily high. If we had our druthers, we would never service a defaulted mortgage again. We would not want to be in the business of foreclosure because it's exceedingly painful for our consumers, our customers, and it's difficult, costly, and painful for us and our reputation. Now, I thought that was very insightful, because I just spoke to somebody, it was yesterday, I was at a conference. Wells Fargo, Bank of America are still, to this day, paying for their reputation and how they handled the foreclosures, short sales, those sort of things that were happening. How many years ago was that? I mean, that was
6-7 years.
Now they're still happening, you're right? They're not as many as we mentioned before. Mm-hmm. That reputation is, I don't know how much money that cost the banks, but I'm sure it cost them billions of dollars in reputation. I'm sure there were a lot of people who pulled the money out of the bank and put it into a credit union. So it has cost the banks in ways that we can't even put on paper.
Hey, buddy, not to cut you off, but on the chat, they're saying your sound is a little jerky, so I don't know if you can address that. You sound fine.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is my audio still garbage here? So I'll refresh here.
Okay. So 2 seconds. Guys, Jayson will be right back. This is the Real Estate Roundup with Jayson Bates. I'm just a new co-host, and so stay tuned. It's live. You guys know Blab is a wonderful platform, but sometimes it gives us some technical difficulties. Thank you, Alfredo. I appreciate it, sir. So our goal on these Blabs is to come to you on the first Wednesday of every month and just talk about headlines in the mortgage business or real estate from the previous month. So he's back. Let me hush.
Oh, you're good, man. So hopefully, is my audio good?
You're good now.
All right, good.
I mean, I could hear you before. In the chat, if he's good, put a 1. Okay.
All right,
good.
All right, thank you. So yeah, I just thought, Jamie Dimon, I thought that was very insightful. Here's the other thing too that I found pretty interesting about this. And you mentioned it. You kind of alluded to this a little bit. It says Dimon also adds JP Morgan Chase is planning the rollout of a new origination system, and said the bank will be going more digital with its mortgage operations. We will continue to leverage digital channels to make the application process easier for our customers, and more efficient for us. Now, are they alluding to a Rocket Mortgage? Is that what he's saying?
Yeah. And it's smart. We're actually in the works, are working on a Rocket Mortgage type product within my company. So it just makes sense, man. To me, the brick and mortar model is obsolete.
So now, with that being said, okay, Rocket Mortgage, let's go back to the doom and gloom, right? If we go to this Rocket Mortgage platform, are we setting ourselves up for, loosey-goosey underwriting practices? Is that what's happening?
I don't think so, Jayson. Just what we would be doing, in my opinion, is using the technology to get rid of some of the extra steps and paperwork, but that doesn't speak to the underwriting. You can still, we use automated underwriting systems now, and so it's already in place. So I don't think it's going to go back to where it was from
we'll see
01
to
to
what
05.
degree, yeah, we'll see to what degree that these companies, how far they'll push that envelope. Rocket Mortgage is certainly pushing that envelope to the nth degree. I don't know that Chase is going to do that. I don't think their stockholders and shareholders will do that. And if you looked on Twitter for Rocket Mortgage, there's a lot of creative negativity out there for Rocket Mortgage and why they shouldn't be doing it. So, but it was just interesting to hear Jamie Dimon talk about how they're trying to automate some things and make it a little bit easier process. I thought that was pretty insightful.
Well, I think we were on a conversation, if you allow me to, with a millennial. Remember that young man we were speaking to? Mm-hmm. 17 years of age to 36-year-olds. And so I think in their mind, maybe not so much us, but a Rocket Mortgage or making things a lot easier, not necessarily easier to qualify, but easier to go through the process. I think they would embrace that big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. Okay, so now let's get into some of the news that's going to impact the realtor here a little bit. Yeah, so all you realtors, brace.
Buckle up.
Brace. So a real estate, they call him a real estate maverick. I don't know. I've never seen this guy. I think he's here in Phoenix, Arizona, as a matter of fact. His name is Greg Haig. He leads actually a battle cry against antiquated MLS rules. And this article, really pertains to people in Seattle. I don't know if this applies here in Phoenix. I don't think it does. Maybe not in your area as well either. But in Seattle, their MLS, it doesn't allow for the realtor to pre-market a listing at all, unless you're a celebrity. So in other words, you can't pre-market it unless you can only market it if it's on the MLS. And here I'll read it. Members shall not promote or advertise any property in any manner whatsoever, including but not limited to yard or other signs, flyers, websites, emails, texts, mailers, magazines, newspapers, open houses, previews, showings, and tours, unless a listing for that property has been delivered to NWMLS or input by the member. End of quotations. Input by the member. I know I didn't end that sentence correctly, but input by the member. Punishment for violating this rule includes fines up to $5,000 or expulsion from the MLS.
Yeah, they need to revisit that one.
Yeah, and this goes into what I was talking to in previous newsmakers, the Danger Report. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that. Danger Report, I think, is definitive analysis of negative game changers in real estate or something like that. And if you haven't seen that report, look up www.dangerreport.com. And it really goes into, and this is something that was sanctioned by the National Association of Realtors, that the MLS is kind of it is antiquated. It's trying to find its niche. I know there's a company up in Oregon, a broker, who will not allow his realtors to put the listings on the MLS. And I was just at a social media event yesterday, as a matter of fact, and they said, look, you can get the consumer 9 times out of 10 finds the property to tell the realtor, hey, this is the property I want to look at, because they find it on Zillow or some other kind of Realtor.com, whatever. Yeah. And then the realtor, their value comes into play with a negotiation of that contract. It's not where they have this hold close to my chest kind of cards where I find the properties, you can't find them, so you need me to find them kind of thing. And I agree. MLS is fighting to remain relevant and protect realtors from competition and innovation. I 100% agree with that. And this is just another example of that. And this gentleman here, Greg Haig, is kind of spearheading the fight to say, hey, MLS, you're being stupid here.
Yeah, they better embrace it because it's here. It's not coming. It's here. And the technology is going to put a lot of realtors out of business.
Yeah, if you don't embrace it now, the technology, even with live streaming, whatever the case may be, Snapchat, whatever, live streaming on Facebook, right. all these sort of new tools that are coming out. And that's a thing. These tools change, like, it seems like month to month. It's crazy.
Hourly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. These new things, these new startups and all this kind of stuff. So it's very intimidating. Now, part of the social media class that I was at yesterday, and it gave really good advice and said, hey, look, if you're a realtor out there and you're not sure where to start, you start maybe with Facebook or Twitter, Google Plus, what they said is pretty much dead, which I agree with. You only do that for SEO purposes really at this point.
Right.
But start with Facebook and master Facebook. Once you have that mastered, and it may take you 6 months, it may take you a year. Once you have that mastered, then move on to another thing. Don't try to do everything all at once.
Right.
A little of something all at once. Master the one and then move on to the next.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, so this article here, this is the one about commissions here.
They got one about the realtors,
which is real estate commissions, right?
Wow.
Realtor commissions. And this one is also part of that danger report. How commissions are going to be there's pressure on commissions. I hear it all the time from my real referral partners that they want them to cut their commission on a listing, or something, not so much on the buyer side, of course, but certainly on the listing side. They want them to cut their commissions. And it says here how a real estate commission cut would increase housing supply and lower house prices. Now, for all you realtors out there, I'd love to get your opinion. Put it in the chat out there.
Yeah.
I know they always want you guys to discount. I totally get that.
Right.
It says here, the National Association of Realtors again asked FHA to lower premiums. This is the lobbyist group of National Association of Realtors. Asked to lower FHA premiums, effectively a call to put taxpayers at greater risk. This is what this article is saying here. Instead of further stoking demand, the NAR should increase supply by requesting its members to lower real estate commissions by 2%. So they make this argument here that it is, if you lower the commission, therefore the price of the home is then lowered by 2%. Therefore, more buyers can afford the home. That's kind of their logic behind this.
The seller's not going to give up the 2%. They're just thinking that's more money in their pocket. So I don't agree with that article at all. I mean, it's not going to trickle down to the buyer, in my opinion.
Now, I will say this. Okay, we talk about innovation, and this is where the commissions, I think, is under a lot of pressure from the public. There's a company here called Open Door. Open Door, you can look them up, opendoor.com. They have here in Phoenix and in Dallas, Texas.
Yep, Dallas.
It's a company in San Francisco. You've seen them maybe in Texas there.
Dallas.
Dallas. And they take and essentially take the realtor out of the whole deal. And they post the property online. They cut the commission, therefore reducing the sales price of the home by the commission, and market it online. They say they're doing pretty well. I've talked to the owner because I've asked him to be on my podcast. He says he wants to be on the podcast, but he hasn't fulfilled his obligation yet on that, and I can't really push him. So for all you people out there who'd like to write letters, write a letter to them and tell them to be on Jayson Bates, ValleyoftheSunRealEstateShow.com.
Step up to the mic.
Step up to the mic, right. But he said, look, we want to have a fair price for the home. And so they offer you a home or a price on the home. You close on the home and you get your money within a week. That's simple. It's not one of these we buy ugly houses type deals. It's not where they discount the property by 20% so they can turn around and sell it for a profit. He's told me, he's like, we're not there to make a big profit. Yes, we make a little profit, of course, but not ridiculous profit. And they're really, when I look at their filings in Maricopa County, which is, you can see the deeds of trust and stuff like that, and you can kind of see the sales price. They're getting pretty much the value of the home when they're buying it from the consumer, and then they're turning around and selling it for basically their costs. They're making a little bit of margin in there, but not much. I would say less than $5,000 a house. And
the thing that's intimidating, or if I was a realtor that I would be afraid about, is the way they clean it up. You can look at the house at any time. As far as the buyer's concerned, there's cameras in there. You don't need a realtor. So yeah, it's pretty slick. I don't know if it's going to catch on, but yeah, it's a nice system.
They're running radio ads here. They ran some TV ads here. They had at the beginning of the year, I don't know what their inventory is now. I know at the beginning of the year, they had, I think 188 homes here in Phoenix, which is quite a bit, man. That's quite a few listings. I think they're less than 120 now. I don't know if that's just because of the demand. I don't know, what's kind of fueling that. Maybe they're running out of money. I don't know. It doesn't seem like their homes stay on the market that long either, but that's kind of hard to judge because of the demand situation, supply situation. So I wouldn't say that their houses stay on the MLS longer than any other home, but it is a cool concept, right? You can go in and see this open house at any time of the day, midnight. If you want to go see it at midnight, you can go see the home. You go up to the home, you text the address of the property to the number. They send you the code. You unlock it. You walk through the house. There's cameras in the homes. I've walked several of these homes. There's cameras actually in the homes where they can see you, and the home's empty. These aren't homes that are occupied. These are all empty homes.
And I would disagree a little bit with ePro Ag, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I mean, theoretically, contract negotiation is the lifeline of a realtor, but on most of these transactional type, transactions, especially first-time home buyers, not a lot of contract negotiation going on. So, does the house sound pretty much from an inspector standpoint? Can I afford it? Can we get the loan? So maybe on a higher level, higher end type negotiations and things of that nature, but kind of in the middle of the road where this company that Jayson mentioned is speaking of, and they're just starting in Dallas. That's what they're looking at, that turnkey, turn and burn, make it efficient.
That's all they're looking for. Yeah, they set the price. They have I don't know if it's an online evaluation, but they have an inspector go out there, look at the home, make sure there's no a lot of deferred maintenance or anything. The house is in good bones, deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then they make a fair market value offer on the property. And then they turn around and sell it for essentially a fair market value. Again, they're not making a lot of money on the deal. And he's told me, look, it's not about us ripping people off. It's a numbers game. If we can close 200 transactions a month at a slimmer margin, then we're making money.
There you go.
We'll see if they can get enough in that arena. I don't know that he's factoring in the market itself. In a normal market, maybe that would work, but in low supply, maybe not so much.
Right.
So I don't know. Time will tell. Hopefully, I like the idea. We'll see if it takes off.
And that's what I'm saying.
I think
that's what I'm saying. I like the idea. He has to live a little longer, and we'll see. Right. We'll see if they last.
We've talked about this all the time too, right? Somebody's going to come up and build up a better mousetrap at some point.
Mm-hmm.
This is the pressure that we as in the real estate professional world, this is what we face. Somebody's going to build a better trap. No question about it. Just like Zillow has, right? They've built a very effective way to shop for a home online.
Right.
A lot of people use it. So it's a question of time before other aspects of our business get that same way. Rocket Mortgage. Maybe they're onto something. Maybe they're not. Time will tell. But at some point, somebody will. I always allude to, like, when we first started doing credit reports.
Okay.
You had to go to a certain computer, right? You had to go to a little computer. You had this dot matrix thing that came up, right? And you had to read the whole credit report.
Right.
Didn't have a credit score, right? And now it's like in 30 seconds, you get a credit report. It's almost the same as Netflix, what Netflix did to Blockbuster, right? Blockbuster is no longer here because of Netflix.
Right.
So somebody will build a better mousetrap at some point, I believe. Okay, so let's get on to the next one here. With this one, I really, really like, and I hope I'll have to follow this here a little bit. This article got written on April 19th, and I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. I think he's a senator. Not sure which state he's from. Senate adopts Isakson, ISAKSON amendment to change FHA mortgage underwriting process.
Okay.
Now, why I like this amendment to the underwriting process is because I really feel, especially here in Arizona, there in Texas as well, there's a big green movement, right? There's a big movement to solar and solar homes and green homes and things like that. currently under FHA guidelines, that when a house has a solar panel on it, when the appraiser appraises the home, he can give no value to the solar. And if that solar is being leased, that lease payment has to be counted against the buyer's ratios for qualifying for that home. Otherwise, the solar has to come down. Right?
Right. Yeah. I don't know if you said that, but they have to qualify with the leasing company, not just the mortgage loan, but they have to qualify with them as well. Continue to keep it, or it has to come down. Yeah.
It has to come down, right? So now this is a big problem because a lot of people think that solar is kind of a good selling point to the home. Your utility bills are lower. It's a good competitive advantage when selling your home. Well, this process here, this amendment here, would basically require that appraisers, and it says, I don't like this word. I don't know why they put this word in here, man. I hate this word. I think underwriters would hate this word too. It says it would require that appraisals be inflated. I don't like that word, inflated, to account for the value of energy efficiency upgrades as determined by HUD. So basically they're saying, hey, look, Mr. Appraiser, you need to give some value to these items that are associated with the house. They're bolted to the house in a lot of cases on the roof. So you need to give some value to them instead of giving no value to them. And so I like this amendment. Actually, I haven't read the whole thing. And I don't intend to. I'm not a lawmaker. But the fact that they're even thinking about this sort of thing, I think it's a positive step in the right direction.
Agreed. And can I say something real quick? Because in the chat, we want all the realtors to know. Don't you love realtors, Jayson? I do.
Oh, I love realtors, of course.
We're not here on you guys.
I don't like realtors.
Well, they were kind of saying, they need to start a realtor show and stuff. We're just talking about the news and just talking about stuff that's happening. No bias here. And so technology changes the game for a lot of us, even in the lending business. We're talking about the rocket mortgages, and you just have to know what's coming down the pike. So yeah, we love agents. So.
Yeah, and so I was going to save this for last, but since we're kind of speaking of agents here.
She said we know. Okay, awesome.
Hopefully this will work here. This is Okay, cool. So this is the bad real estate photo of the day. A little search of Twitter here a little bit, right? And so what's wrong with this picture?
Everything.
Well, you can see there, I don't know, the green porch there is it's like blurry. There's like a bad Photoshop going on there.
Yeah, they try to Photoshop some green turf in, huh?
Yeah. So thank you, Josh Stockton, for supplying us with the bad real estate photo of the day.
That's why Zillow's doing an excellent job. I noticed too, Jayson, whenever you drop something in, that's when we get the degradation in your audio.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Did it get better? Is it better now?
Nah, it's still kind of choppy, but that's what's happening.
All right, so I may have to refresh. Is that what you're telling me? I got to refresh.
Yeah, and then you want me to let the caller in while you're refreshing?
I don't know what that is. But.
Nah, we won't let them in. So yeah, go ahead and refresh, and then I'll just talk to the folks until you come back. And this is the Real Estate Roundtable, first Wednesday of every month. Caller, hold what you got. We will take calls a little later as we get ready to wrap up the show. So no disrespect, but if you can kind of hold that thought, and Jayson will let you in when he comes back or when the show is over. But Real Estate Roundup, we talk about the previous month's topics in the real estate arena, mortgages, realtors, laws, things of that nature. So just trying to bring a different spin. I'm a co-host on with the great Jayson Bates, and he was having some technical difficulties. It's a live show, so we implore you guys to get in a little early next month when we do it. He had an awesome little show, kind of like the Family Feud. It was pretty interesting. So you guys get in early next time so you can kind of interact. It was real fun. So he's back. I'm going to give the seat back to Jayson. You got it, my man.
All right, cool, man. Hey, whoever's calling in there, thanks for doing that too. Filling that airspace. That's not hard. That's hard to do. Whoever's trying to call in there, if you could put in the chat, like your question, we want to get through this first, and then we'd be happy to let you in. So for right now, we're going to kind of let you kind of hang tight. And if you want to put in the chat, and then we'll let you come in at the end. No problem, man. No worries. Okay, so now, and we're almost out of time, but I want to kind of touch base on student loans here a little bit, because there has been some confusion here on FHA and student loans. And for you realtors out there, it's important for you to kind of understand student loans are a huge debt problem in the United States. Huge debt problem. Now, for a lot of people getting homes now, especially millennials, student loans used to be where they were in deferment, or when the payments were deferred and there weren't any payments due because you're in school or whatever the case might be, you didn't have to count that payment in the ratios for qualifying for a mortgage. And that has changed. So we talked about looser guidelines. This is one of those areas that seems to have gotten tighter a little bit. So with that being said, you have to qualify now with your student loan payments. And for individuals who have $100,000 in student loan debt, it's a significant payment, which is affecting the affordability of them being able to purchase a home. That, coupled with the fact of prices going up, which I believe is why Freddie Mac came out earlier in the year or earlier in the month and said, hey, rates aren't going anywhere, really. We don't believe rates are going anywhere for the rest of the year.
Right.
Yeah, I've been saying for a while now, I just don't see how rates can even get to 6% again. I don't know. Maybe it'll happen. I'm sure it will at some point. But 6%, coupled with the fact groceries are more expensive, gas can get more expensive, the cost of living is more expensive, taxes are more expensive, health insurance is more expensive. It gets to a point where you just can't afford to have interest rates too high.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But getting back to the student loans, you do have to qualify with the student loan. Now, what's important here on this, and I've gotten a lot of kickback here from consumers, and Robert, you may have had the same situation. You have to qualify with the amount that shows on the credit report, or if it doesn't show an amount on the credit report, let's say it's in deferment, for example, then you have to qualify with a 1% of the outstanding balance as a payment for that. So if you have $100,000, that's a significant payment, right? $1,000. So that's super, that can kick people out real quick. And the kickback I'm getting back on this is that most people are saying, well, I don't know why payment is. It's deferred. And then they can't get the payment from the student loan company because I say, well, if you were to make a payment, what would it be? Well, I don't know. I got to, and they're not getting a lot of cooperation from the student loan provider, servicer.
Right. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you, Jayson.
No, go ahead, man. You're good.
I was just saying, to add to that as well, what's happened. So it used to be a 2% calculation of the outstanding balance. They lowered it to 1%, right? That's a good thing. What affects my people and the folks that I've been dealing with is because I've been telling folks about the income-based repayment plan with student loans, getting them to get a payment that's commensurate with the income that they have.
Right.
Give you an example. Took an application Monday. Lady has $75,000 in student loans. She's only paying $12 a month because of the income-based repayment. Well, as long as we close the loan before June 30th of this year, we can use that $12 to qualify in the debt-to-income ratio, no problem. After that, $750 could be a deal killer, like you're saying.
Yeah, it can be a deal killer, no question about it. Okay, so consumer sentiment, we talked about this a little bit. Consumer sentiment is on the rise in real estate. So I thought that was pretty good. I think, like I said, I think that just kind of plays into people not losing their job. They feel more comfortable that they're going to have a job next week. Right. Now, real quick, I want to do a little quick rundown here on the last few items here. And I know we've covered a lot here. So hopefully you guys are getting some good value out of this. SAFE Act, which is that's the act that required loan officers to be licensed. And I forget the acronym that actually stands for. Forgive me for that. That was in 2010. I don't remember. But it's saying, lifetime ban on felonies may be unconstitutional. So in other words, if you have a felony, like a DWI or DUI or whatever they call them now, and it's a felony charge, you cannot be a licensed loan officer. They're now making the argument that could be unconstitutional. We will see where that goes. But a court in Pennsylvania declared the ban unconstitutional there and relied on several U.S. state Supreme Court cases. The reasoning is that the law created an irrefutable presumption that a person convicted of a felony was unfit for employment at an elderly care facility. So using somebody who had a felony that couldn't work there and translating that into the loan business. We'll see what happens there. I don't know. I don't know if I'd want some felon actually handling my finances. I don't think I would. And I think if you're a financial planner, if you have a felony, hey, no dice, man. You're not messing with money. So I kind of agree that if you have a felony, you shouldn't be a loan officer. TRID loans are closing faster, but full of errors. TRID is still a big topic. I think the average nationally is 50 days now, down. But I think that's due in large part to the big banks because I'm closing them in 30 days.
Likewise.
Yeah. Let's see here. So here's one for us. Okay. Can originators take their clients with them? And this can kind of relate to realtors. There was a case last month where, and I forget the name of the company. I think you Guaranteed Rate or something like that.
Guaranteed Rate, yeah.
Yeah, where the loan officer took his clients with him when he left Guaranteed Rate, and Guaranteed Rate then sued him because they said they're the property of Guaranteed Rate. And I thought that was kind of interesting because if I was a realtor and I was at RE/MAX and I wanted to go to Century 21, well, I'm going to take my database with me. Would it be fair for RE/MAX to say, hey, look, that's our database, not your database? How would realtors react to that? Because that's essentially what's happening here with loan officers. We're licensed individually. We're held on the hook, through the NMLS. Mm-hmm. So I think to some degree, I think it's the lender's client, especially if you're doing your own marketing and you're doing your own, promotion, if you will. But we do have in our agreements, we do have to sign agreements that I know and have in my agreement, in my agreement, if I originate it here at my company, that then becomes the property of the company and not me, not my property. He obviously didn't heed to that rule and he took him anyway. And we're talking big money. I think it's like $1 million or something like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, for a loan officer.
Terabytes of information, though. I mean, if you're just taking your name and a phone number, I don't think it's a big deal. But he was actually taking, information. So, yeah.
Here's another one. PMI, private mortgage insurance, costs nearly 4 times higher for moderate score borrowers. This is something that I think will hopefully change because PMI for somebody with a 640 credit score is super expensive versus somebody who has a 740 credit score.
That's why FHA is not going anywhere.
Yeah, that is why FHA isn't going anywhere. There was one here though that I wanted to. Okay, this is it, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. I know I didn't get to everything, but Wells Fargo, Bank of America, others being sued over FHA prepayment penalties.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. So this one here, when somebody refinances an FHA loan, you have to pay interest through the end of that month.
For 30 days.
They're saying now that is considered a prepayment penalty because on a conventional loan, you only pay interest for the time that you're in the home or the time that you're in that loan for that home. On FHA, which is why a lot of people move the loan to the end of the month for the refinance because they don't, you might as well use it or you lose it kind of thing. Now they're saying that these quote unquote prepayment penalties are not prohibited. And it says here, every originator hates it when the servicing lender attacks up to 30 days of interest on an FHA loan payoff. Lenders blame the fact that Ginnie Mae investors are paid until the end of the month, no matter when the loan pays off. One thing we applaud the CFPB. This is the CFPB kind of going after this.
They did something good.
Yeah, or is pronouncing that these are prohibited prepayment penalties. FHA stopped them, but only for loans originated after January 21st. So FHA actually stopped doing this for loans originated after January 21st, 2015. I haven't seen many of those refinances because those rates were just so ridiculous
Right.
Not many people are looking to refinance or do streamlines or anything like that. National Association of Realtors estimates FHA borrowers paid out $587.4 million in excess interest last year alone. So class action lawyers smelled the money and are suing 4 major banks over these excess interest fees. We can hope it will stop the practice.
I was going to say, where are the lawyers? Here they come. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. So I think that kind of, I don't know. Do you have anything to add? I don't know. I did kind of a lot.
No, you covered it all, sir. I just try to piggyback. So I think you've hit it all, man. You hit it all. Excellent job again.
Cool, man. Hey, we're going to open up that seat. And for everybody listening on the podcast, if you missed the blab, well, you missed something special, I think. I don't know. It was a little clunky. Blab wasn't working to its full potential today. And it's been a little clunky here the past several weeks. I think they're doing some upgrades or whatever. But thank you for listening to the podcast. And certainly if you think there's value on this, please share with your friends or family or anybody who's looking to purchase or refinance here in the state of Arizona. I certainly would love the opportunity to earn your business. And you can check out my website at www.valleyofthesunrealestateshow.com. From there, connect with me on just about any social media platform. I'd love to hear from you. Tell everybody how we can get a hold of you, Robert, and let's close it out.
www.lend2tx.com. That's it.
All right, cool. Thank you, everyone. And let me just say a last few things here. Jayson Bates, NMLS 220798, mortgage banking license 1796, equal credit opportunity lender. Sound effects provided by soundj.com.